can we start channeling now?
Of course, of course, of course.
Okay.
So
So,
go ahead.
so first, we can channel Arnav. Arnav is here with us, and I would like to ask about. He himself had done a lot of research on his own, and he used to do that for any topic that he was interested in. And he had a very deep interest in spirituality. And he read a lot, and we used to have great discussions at depth. But none of it is actually taught in school. In school, and our education system across the world is so archaic that none of the spiritual principles or even handling emotions, feelings, and how to acknowledge that we are spiritual beings on human journey, none of it is taught. So what I don't know, what do you have to say about that?
Well, first of all, he wants me to tell you that he's dressed in like a navy blue.
Okay.
His energy is like a navy blue, which to me that feels really warmth and very loving and grounding to me. That navy blue. And he was telling me as you're talking, that he is and was a philosopher in other lifetimes. So this is why he wanted to research everything, get more information, because that's just was in his nature to do that. He says, the reason things are taught the way they're taught is so that he says it's not to educate us, it's to dumb us down so that we don't know what we innately know within ourselves. So that's what it's for. It's to keep us, as he's showing me, it's to keep us down, so busy with all this other stuff that each section of the globe wants us to know, so that we don't know our authentic self. And he says it's funny because each part of the globe is teaching stuff about how wonderful they are and how horrible everybody else is. So it keeps us separated. It keeps the hate going, the separation, and that's the whole purpose of it. It's not to educate us. It's not to educate us. It's to educate us in a way, though he says, that's not useful, in a way that it pulls us down from knowing the truth, is what he's telling me. And as he's showing me this, I'm like, yeah, each side of the planet tells information about the rest of the planet that's not true. So we have all of this bickering going back and forth. He says that's what the education teaches us. He says there's some good. He says there's some good. He says, but it's very limited. And the way he shows me limited, I feel like it's limited in the science field, and it's limited in the math field, because they teach it in a way that only a few can get to the top of it. And there's easier ways to teach math. But they don't want us to know that, because he says all the answers are within math. Everything's mathematical. And I've heard that before. Everything in this world is mathematical. He said how the planets are lined up, everything is done mathematical. He said millions of years ago, thousands of years ago, everything is done mathematical. Everything's designed to be lined up mathematical, the angles, the everything. He says it's all mathematical. We are limited to know that. Just very few of us know this.
So what can we do to bring reforms in our education system?
He got excited. He's just all excited. He says, he says, doing what you're doing, Mom, bringing this out to everybody. because awareness, he says, bring in awareness. He goes, but what we can do on an individual level, he says, is start questioning things. And how you question things is, how is this working for me? Because we think we're doing it right because we're following the rules, the guidelines. But if you sit quiet, he says, for 5-10 minutes, you will find that you may not like doing it the way that's being told. Find your path, and that is spending time with self, reading books that interest you, not what you're told to read, but read books that fill your soul, is what he's saying. You don't have to be out there, he says, protesting and creating a bunch of havoc out there, because there are others who are doing that for us, he says, but it's more about educating yourself from within, he says. Find out what really makes you happy. He goes, most people don't even know what makes them happy. They go with what they've been told or what they've been instructed to make them happy. And people are told you can't do this because that's not a normal thing to do. You have to do things this way in order to be normal. And that's not a true statement. He says, your normal is going to be different from my normal, but it doesn't make either one of us wrong. And he says, this is how, he said, he's showing me, start teaching your kids to color outside of the lines. You know, he says, we're told we have to stay in the lines, start coloring outside of the lines. And he's laughing. He says, this is going to drive people nuts who are very rigid on how things have to be. So, yeah, and I'm thinking, yeah, that would take, to just color outside the lines. He's showing me, he goes, free yourself up. He says, finger painting and lower grades, I guess he's talking like kindergarten and less. He says, finger painting is so good for kids because it's teaching them how to create and how they don't have to have it a certain way. He says, but they don't teach finger painting or give that as an option that much anymore, the finger painting. But he says that is so good because you're just using both sides of the brain and it's helping you to develop what feels good to you, he's saying. He goes, they need to bring that in more finger painting.
Okay. Yeah, quite unconventional. We are now seeing so much rise of AI, and it is going to be there in each and every field, and we are no longer going to function in the same way as we used to. So, I don't know what you have to say about that in terms of education and overall well-being of humanity.
He tells me, and I feel like he's bringing his team in with me. So it's not just his words. I feel like his team is coming with this because it's a very heavy and deep topic right now at this time, he says, because there's so much fear wrapped around it. And that's the purpose, is to bring fear with it. Because when we are in the fear, we're detaching from who we are. So the main thing he says is, don't get into the fear of it. He says it's like with anything. It's going to go one way for a little bit, but we're going to learn how to pull back. He says AI is not going to take over the world as people are predicting and fearing. And that he says, Mom, you know that there's so much more than AI. So it just isn't going to happen. But the fear is what's creating it to look like it's going to happen. Our fear create what it is we think is going to happen when we're in that fear. He says AI is going to help with education to a degree, but it also is going to promote down the road individuals to think for themselves. And how he's showing me is it's going to be structured in a way that it's like so black and white that it's going to force us to think individually for ourselves. Now, some things the AI is going to work well with. And of course, there are going to be smart people who use that energy in not a good way and turn it around on things to where it's not a good use for us. But as we get more knowledgeable of what we're working with, we're going to start changing some direction in that area of the way it's going to go. For some reason, I feel like this is going to be, I don't know how he's showing, but he showed me for some reason, I feel like this is going to be a benefit for teachers because teachers, it's almost like they don't have any authority at all. They are told how things are going to be. It's not like teaching 60 years ago. They're being told what to teach and they can't go veer away from their program at all. And I feel like for the way he showed me, I feel like there's going to be more teacher involvement with things with this. So this will be a good thing. And also, he says they're going to create down the road something with AI that's going to be beneficial for kids who just don't work well in a traditional platform of education. And so this would be very good for that, he says, and it's going to happen. I feel like it's going to be 10 plus years out, if not longer. But he says they already are looking into that because in parts of the world, they have like what we call here alternative schools because the regular schools aren't working and haven't been working. He says he taught himself in school. The teachers didn't teach him. He taught himself. I feel like he just played the game with them and let them think that they were teaching him. And this is going to also empower teachers to want to teach because he says teachers are falling away because of how the educational system is instructed. I'm asking him, are they going to increase their pay? And he says that's not going to be for a while, but things are going to be structural different to where it's more balanced with things.
Yeah, it's quite unfortunate that, except for a couple of countries like Finland and Netherlands, probably where teachers are paid good, as in otherwise it's a very good profession, and it is a profession where actually they get to shape children literally, but
Yes.
it is not recognized so much across the world.
Yeah, and he says that's a deeper, there's more to it than it's not just that they don't want to filter more income into the education. He's shown me it's because of, I'm hesitant to say this, but he says it's because it's more of a female field teachers. And so there wasn't a need to pay them a lot of money. So it was almost like, even though it took education to get the teachers to be a teacher, it's almost like it was, it's like they got away with not paying the teachers much because it was a female position mainly. And as he says that, I remember only having 2 male teachers throughout my whole education through first grade through middle school. Even in first grade, there were no male teachers at the time. But now things are coming up. He says things are coming up to the surface, and it's going to change. And he says equality is going to change. Equality.
Yeah. Yeah. What we understand is that there is going to be a rise in the feminine, the divine feminine, as we are ascending, and it's required that we have more nurturing, loving energy brought to forefront across the world. So,
Absolutely. Absolutely. And this isn't just for women. This is because we have both masculine and feminine energy within us, both male and female. And it's to tap into that feminine energy more because men, poor things, have been taught don't cry, act tough. You're not allowed to say you don't like, you just do it. And no wonder they die so young, and die before women. It's because they're denying a part of themselves. And it's becoming more where men are getting more in touch with that feminine side of themselves and not being ridiculed and stuff like that. So, yeah, it is about that. It definitely is.